Hey there, fans. Welcome back to another talent interview. Today we've got a newcomer to the team. His name's Aidan. Aidan, go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience, buddy.
Hi, I'm Aidan, otherwise online known as That's the Par VA. I specialize in typically fan dubs, voiceovers, and I've recently gotten more into audio editing. What I'm hired
Very
for.
nice. Very cool. Welcome to the team. I'm glad that you're here. You've been a major impact so far. But before we get into the project stuff, tell us a little bit about yourself, Aidan. Let's start out with how did you get involved with Transformers?
It's kind of a cliche answer because Ben gave the same answer in his interview, which was Bayformers, but a little bit more than just I watched the film. My grandmother would frequently visit us, and I was too young. Except, like I'd seen movies in theaters before, but my dad, not a Transformers fan, my mom, not a Transformers fan. So when Transformers came out, I had no idea it even existed. I only found out about films through my parents because back then didn't have YouTube and trailers only ever played on TV. And since I only ever watched, kids channels, I didn't get to see trailers for Transformers and big blockbusters. So I was completely oblivious until I think the year after when the DVD came out, my grandmother visited with the DVD and I watched it, and it was like the world just opened up to me. I was like, oh my god, that was awesome! Like, holy crap, it was amazing. And I watched it like religiously. I loved that movie. I didn't get into any of the animated stuff until about just before Dark of the Moon came out. Because Revenge of the Fallen came out. I didn't see that in theaters either because my parents still didn't care. So I had to wait till it came out on home media. Again, I watched that one like crazy. I loved it more than the first one. I was like, we get Transformers from start to finish? It's always Transformers? Yes, please. And then I heard about there was an 80s show. And I was like, whoa, really? So I went and so I started with the movie as a kid. So a little weird because I'm watching it. I was like, oh, that's Ironhide, that's Optimus. They're dead, and now Megatron comes in grape flavor. Like, what happened here? Like the Starscream just bites the dust in the first 40 minutes. I'm like, what were y'all on in the 80s? And I'm like, freaking 10 or 11 years old. I'm like, what is this? And I was like, oh, there's a TV show. Well, I'll go watch the TV show because at the time The Hub had just come out. So they were playing G1 and animated. I started watching animated. Animated, I liked it, but I was really annoyed by Sorry. Even as a kid, the character of Sorry, the little girl.
Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, she annoys me. My sister bought a Roku, has the Transformers channel. I watched some anime like 2 nights ago, and she's still just as insufferable as ever. I'm like, how can you like Sorry but hate Miko from Prime? Miko is way more tolerable than Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry just comes off as a brat the entire time. Like, look at me, I got a key. I could restart anything with Energon. I'm like, you're basically just a walking ex machina device. Like, you're a walking MacGuffin. That's your character. But
Totally agree.
Then Transformers Prime came out. I heard about a brand new show that's coming out. And, dude, it was amazing. I watched it. I literally, because at the time I had DVR and all that. So I literally set it up every Saturday morning. Transformers, or was it Friday nights? I can't remember which one it was. But I'd watch the new Transformers Prime every weekend. And I was like, this is awesome. I loved it. It felt like basically the Bay films, but more brought down to a kid's level. Because the action was almost Bay levels of action, but the Transformers were the focus. There were like no humans truly other than like the 5 main ones, and occasionally they'd have extras. But I loved it. And then after that, I started getting more into voice acting, kind of looking at the behind the scenes and seeing what the process was. And when Age of Extinction came out, they released a video that had Peter Cullen and showed Michael Bay in the booth with him, like telling him, you got him on the ground there, and he's like actually interacting. I was like, that looks so much fun. And then I started watching other voice acting videos of like, DC games of actors saying you can work in your PJs. I'm like, shit, I wear PJs all the time, I do this in my pajamas all the time. So I was enamored by it, and I was like, I love doing little voices and all that, but I'm seeing that there's a market for it. So by 2016, that's when I first started practicing, and Transformers was a major part that played a major part in me getting here. Because one of my very first videos, the video that actually got me projects and other Transformers fan projects, was me doing an impression of Megatron from The Last Knight. Now, sadly, that voice has kind of atrophied over the years because the voice has grown and shaped and gotten and kind of settled. So now I can no longer do that voice like I used to. But but Transformers quite literally got me started. And it's been my love for Transformers that's just kind of kept me going. Because Star Wars, the Clone Wars, that's another one. But Transformers is so voice actor centric that I would, like, when I had the Bay comics, I started getting the comics that tied into the movies. I would read them in the voices that I could do, and that's just kind of been my journey.
So you got into the Transformers by watching the movies, and then that led you into exploring deeper into how Transformers started, where it came from, and then going on into the series. That you mentioned. Did you catch the Unicron trilogies?
I did.
Okay.
It has been a long time. I remember more about Armada than I do any of the other two because
I do too.
On TV, Armada played more on TV than any of the other ones because Armada was like the popular one. And at the time, that was actually my introduction to David Kaye. I didn't know David Kaye did Beast Wars. I actually didn't watch Beast Wars until about 2 years ago.
Oh wow.
I'm actually a newbie to Beast Wars, and now as for my opinion on Beast Wars, I think the story is fantastic, the lore is amazing, but the slapstick ruined it for me.
Yeah.
Because I went through so many shows, like where the Autobots took damage, they took damage, but battle hurt. Even in G1, when the bolts would just ding off of them, they'd still be like, ugh, like they'd still collapse, they'd still get hurt.
Right.
Even if it wasn't a mortal wound, they still got hurt. Then here comes Beast Wars, where Waspinator will literally get flat like a pancake and wobble down to the ground, and then, like, look at Waspinator, and then he's just right back to buzzing along.
Yeah.
And then it felt like that. And a friend of mine explained to me is the fact that they had no real sense of direction for the first one because they didn't know if they were going to get canceled literally any time.
And you can see that.
They didn't have any solidarity.
And you can see that. Yeah. I mean, when you watch the first season, it shows.
It's all over the place.
Yeah.
It is really just, it's kind of nonsensical for most of the time. If you could literally trim almost, in my opinion at least, you could trim about half of the episodes out of season 1 and still have, and basically squish it down the story-based stuff and have like one of the most solid seasons of Transformers. But it's just bogged down by 25 episodes of mostly fluff. But then again, the fluff did allow us to spend time with these characters and kind of watch them interact.
It was good fluff.
Which leads into why I hate the opening of season 2, because they did, when they killed Scorponok and Pterosaur literally in the first 3 minutes. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Did you just 1986 your cast? And you're like, oh, we don't like them anymore. Get some new characters in here. And then I'm like, okay, so you replace them, got some new characters. But then you take 2 of the new big guys and you move them away out of sight for almost the entire season. And then when we come back, they're in love. And then you kill them with living, I'm referring to Air Razor
and Tigertron, yeah.
Because those 2 show up and they're like, oh, these guys are going to be cool. Tigertron has like a moral code that doesn't align with either the Predacons or the Maximals. He walks in the middle. Air Razor is just kind of, he's just kind of a hopeful character. He's just a really good character overall. He's a good Maximal. But then they go off on their own. And then for like 5, 6, 7 episodes, we don't hear anything from them. We act like they never even existed. And then when they show up again, they're a couple. And I'm like, well, when did that happen? But anyways, that would be a cool dynamic. And then they instantly die. I'm like, do y'all know what you want from the show that you're making?
Yeah,
do you understand?
There was some movement, and the direction was, it was lacking. But we definitely got, like you mentioned, we got some good fluff. We got some good solid stories. Beast Wars was one of my favorites. I wanted more. As a matter of fact, I was saddened when season 3 ended so abruptly. I'm like, once they started getting the G1 and they had to protect the Ark, and we brought in Depth Charge and Tigerhawk. Yeah, and then the Transmetal 2s, Black Arachnia's Transmetal 2 version was like amazing. It was really cool design.
Yeah.
So and then it just ended, and then we got Beast Machines, and I'm like, you lost me.
And here's the funny thing is, one of my things that my friend and I have argued about is the sudden shift that Megatron had from, loving his teammates and all of that to betraying them and, killing all of them. I have the nemesis now. Like, I get the story reason, like he got tired of betrayal, but up to that point, there wasn't really any one last straw that broke the camel's back. He literally went from working with Quick Strike and, Inferno and them to killing them without a care in the world.
I think he just got excited. I think he just got so excited. He's like, I don't need you guys anymore. That's how I interpreted that.
But then again, for the most part, he actually really liked having Inferno around because he was the only 100% loyal one. Yeah. He only just hated being called the royalty. Like, he just hated being called
royalty.
His Majesty.
Yes, my queen.
Like yeah, he didn't like that. But he loved Inferno as he could rely on him.
Yeah.
And, so what happened from the whole, it's so hard to find good help to, I don't need anybody anymore.
Yeah.
And like one episode.
Hey, listen, sometimes that happens in life. You have people that win the lottery and then they go crazy and then they're even more broke than they were before they won the lottery.
Yeah, they spend all of it on on freaking ridiculous yachts, submarines, and cars, and then now they're back in debt.
No,
you should have paid off your house, paid off your old car payment, and used that, then set yourself up first.
Dude, there was a sad story I saw on E back in 2010, 2013, somewhere in between
the E Network. Wow.
Yeah, and it was,
I remember that.
It was talking about people who won the lottery, but they were worse off than before. And there was this one guy who was so tragic. His wife left him. His daughter became addicted to substances. She ends up ODing. The granddaughter, same scenario. I was like, oh my gosh, and that guy ends up broke. So I kind of looked at, you're right, but I kind of looked at it as this guy won the lottery, and now it's like, I don't need anybody, type of thing. So
that's fair. That paired with the fact that Tarantulas literally was a double agent for the Triperiticus Council the entire time.
Dude, that was the one thing that left me, that out of everything, that was the one thing that really left me on a cliffhanger. It's like, okay, he is clearly a spawn of Unicron. He's not a Cybertronian. He's working for the Triperiticus Council, and we didn't get any closure on that as far as the show goes. I think the comics did something, but the show just left, and I'm like, oh, that was so good.
Yeah, like literally as soon as Ravage dies, that whole story just dissolves and ceases to be, and he goes right back to, what new plan can I concoct today? And then let me use the Vok, and the Vok kill him, and then I'm like, well, I mean, poetic justice, but I would have liked a little bit more of a ceremonious departure from you than just you screaming and
Oh man! But Beast Wars was really cool. I really enjoyed Depth Charge. Depth Charge was actually. Oh man, I love Depth Charge.
Depth Charge. Oh, he was a great character. I was actually the most irritated. I was annoyed by Scorponok and Pterosaur's death. Depth Charge actually irritated me because I'm like, you finally have him and Rampage have a proper fight, and you kill them. You have been building this up all season.
But what a death!
Then you just
But what a death!
It was a blast,
man.
It was a great fight.
And that was due to the fact that was due to the fact that they changed direction on the writing, because I mean they killed him. They brought in Tigerhawk just to kill him in the very next episode, and then we got Beast Machine. So it from what I understood was that there was a change of writing team and direction overall. I think they went from, I think it was WPIX at that time, and they went over to Fox, and then Fox didn't like the word war in it, so that's why it changed to Beast Machines. So there's all these things that kind of brought it down.
Hey, if in the outside of the American audience, Beast Wars was called Beastie because the other like Canada didn't like the word wars. So instead of Beast Wars, you get Beasties.
Yeah, that's not surprising for Canada.
That
doesn't surprise me for Canada.
Beasties sounds like something you'd hear at a furry convention.
Yeah.
Beasties doesn't sound like a Transformers thing.
No, it doesn't.
Beasties sounds like it belongs in the same ballpark as some other Transformers properties I'm not going to name here.
Cool. So let's switch gears and let's talk about the project. How did
Yes,
you
sir.
find out about Galvatron's Revenge?
So it actually goes back about when Transformers Prime season 3 was out. I actually, as a kid, saw the trailer for the opening scene, and I was like, "Oh, that looks cool." But because back then I didn't have like an actual account, I didn't subscribe to anything. It was there and it was gone. And at the time as a kid, I was like, "Does that mean they're bringing it back?" But um, because I know you've heard that question so many times. Is this official?
Yeah.
Like, you can't do this. It's illegal. I'm just watching them like, you realize if it's nonprofit, it's not illegal, correct? Why aren't you on literally everybody else's page with their 3D animations and their stop motions saying the same freaking thing? Because they're still using Hasbro's product for free for their own projects. So why aren't you going like a door-to-door salesman saying, "Have you heard that this is illegal? Have you heard this is illegal?" Like, just going on and on. Like, but yeah, and then I didn't really hear much about it for a few years, and then I bumped into Orbital Bacon after an incident of my own, and he and I connected, and I found out he was in it, and then I that he worked on it, and like I learned more about it when I met. Like I still heard like casual chatter about it to the left and the right, but I never really like looked into it because I was at the time I was just kind of focused on what I was doing. But then as I started becoming friends with him, and speaking of him rocking the shirt,
Oh, nice.
I love this shirt.
Nice.
Rocking his merch shirt, for membership.
I didn't recognize it at first, but I remember the podcast where he showed that shirt, and then it hit me when you said it.
Yeah. But I don't really wear this often because I don't want like it to fall apart and fade with every wash. So I wear this rather infrequently.
Very nice.
But yeah, I learned more about it. I started, I liked hearing about the behind the scenes stuff and all that. And then recently he was discussing how with this latest obstacle course that he had to run through with the Twitter mob, some people had left, and there were massive vacancies, and the project was kind of in a sort of need of repair, and to kind of like to fix things and touch it up and polish it up in general for public release because it wasn't ready to go. And I basically kind of auditioned, so to speak, through my fandubs and my edits because how I've done my fandubs for the past 4 years or so has been how I'm working on the project now. Is back 4 years ago I didn't do what I do now with like 5.1 audio editing. I did audio from scratch. I found the music, the sound effects, and I did it myself. And I showed Orbital some of the stuff that I've done. He says we could really use your help. And here I am. I can do all the work, but honestly, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Orbital. So I'm forever grateful
Nice.
for that, for him opening the door and allowing me to,
Yeah, we did end up losing Vicky, who was our storyboard, and then she did block animation. But from an audio perspective, we've had Nolan kind of lead the way, but Nolan has a lot of personal things. He's got his little daughter, and he and I are close friends. We've been friends since college. So I know that he's got a lot on his plate personally. So I knew bringing you on board would help him and alleviate some much needed time that he needs for his personal reasons. So bringing you on board has been really good. The stuff that you did with the sample regarding scene 1 was phenomenal. The way that you had that echo effect in there, like if they were actually in a hall. I mean, it's those types of polishing things that are really going to, in my opinion, make this fan project and take it to the next level and make it one of the best fan projects ever. So that's
I
that.
really appreciate that, and
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I do. I will say one thing that since we're not going to show any for as a little tease, I actually grabbed the sound effects directly from the audio files from Transformers Prime.
Yep.
So the audio you hear is not going to be stuff that I've just randomly grabbed from every corner of the internet. I actually went into the files of the film of the series, and I pulled the blaster sounds, the transforming sounds, and I pulled them out as I need them. Of course, from a vast stockpile of them. My hard drive would explode. But I I basically I gather them as I go, and that's what you're going to hear. Is you're going to hear all the plastic movement as move. I actually had to go in and grab parts that weren't being paired up with music or talking, specifically talking. Talking and sound effects go in the exact same like channel, and you can't separate that. So I had to like listen with no music and just listen for movement sounds that didn't have any dialogue, and so that's what you're going to hear. You're going to hear a lot of actual sounds from the film, films from the show, put into the film.
Yep.
Got to give it more of that Christmas Prime feel.
Correct. We wanted to have that authenticity, right? That authenticity feel that you're actually watching the show, and not, not something that was put together out of the blue. Our goal here is to try and deliver, quality work, right? We want the audience
Yeah.
to feel like they're watching the actual show as close as possible. It's
Yeah.
not going to mimic it. I don't think art can ever be exactly duplicated, right? As far as going from one artist to the other, there's always going to be variations and differences, and that's just the way art is. But we do want to get it as close as possible. Let me ask you this question: How, I know that it's only been a couple of months, but so far, how's your experience been working on the project?
It's been busy. Um, I kind of had to take as you know, I had to take a little bit of a step back because of some really heavy personal stuff that's happened. But I'm starting to get back into the swing of things recently. And I really feel horrible for not for taking the time off to focus on stuff because I feel like any delay is directly my fault, even though some of it has been animation delay, but because Ben is already almost done with his side of things, and I still have a hefty stock of scenes to work on, and I'm still working on the space chase right now is really my biggest snag because I don't want to use like the same three sounds. So I've been trying to find new sounds, and like the hyperspace jump that has no sound in. There is no sound in Prime.
Yep.
That does that. That didn't happen in the show. So I have had to find things that aren't like, from Star Trek or Star Wars, but find things that are like, original sound that are, royalty free and use those, but I don't want them to sound too hokey. So that's what,
Right.
So as great as it is to be able to work from scratch, most of the time comes from finding the right sound for things. That's what takes the most time.
Sure.
Like even though scene one, it took me like a combined 14 hours of almost nonstop work. It took that long to find like grenade sounds and like editing the voices. That's the easy. Well, it's primarily the easy part. There's a couple that are kind of a problem trying to edit them, but it primarily comes from finding the right sound. Because like sometimes I have a character have a movement sound for their arm, but then I use another one for another arm later. I'm like, these would sound better flipped. And then like I'll go back and I'm constantly readjusting and reorganizing because I'm so OCD about what I put forward.
Yeah, your attention to detail is very meticulous, and that's what makes you a master craftsman at what you're doing.
But that also comes with a snag of its own. Is that it takes me a lot of time, and time's something I don't got.
Those
we can only delay so much before we can start getting like a Boston Tea Party here, and the people start boycotting.
Yeah. Those are the three things, right? It's quality, time, and I think the other one was like, it was quality, time, and I think money were the three things that impact each other, right? The more quality you have, the more time that's needed, the more money it's going to take to put into it. So.
Yeah, but so that's like my major snag is I am every time I work a scene, I'm just filled with stress because I'm like, I can't take forever. but I need to take forever because I'm gonna rush this and I'm gonna listen to it later before we release it. I'll be like, I gotta change that sounds wrong, that sounds wrong. I gotta get out of my own head. But the thing is, like, I'm so worried that the thing's gonna get released, and then I'm gonna go back and watch the finished product and be like, oh, I should have caught that sooner. And then like someone's gonna timestamp and be like, that sound effect doesn't go there. I'm like, I should have known that.
Listen, we're gonna have the same issue because I'm gonna be in the same boat as a director. I look at that stuff and I'm like, I can't believe I missed that. So,
but I will point this out for the people who are watching. Don't be mad at us for the delays.
Yeah.
We are honestly trying our honest to God best.
Yeah.
It's just, there's a lot of post-production to do to make this literally the best it can be for y'all.
Yeah.
Like an ungodly amount of effort has to go into this. I've watched Ben animate and seen the ridiculous amounts of stuff that he's had to fix and be like, bro, you gotta breathe. But then he'll say it back to me as I'm sitting here like, I don't have a sound effect. It's like, bro, you gotta breathe. Like, we literally are like not breathing, trying to work on this. And so when Carlos, says a delay, and some of y'all in the comments are like, oh my God, it's been 7 years. I'm like, it'll be another 7 if it takes that.
Man,
God, please no. But it's like, for example, with the Call of Duty community. Everyone's sick of Call of Duty every single year because we keep getting the same shoddy product. And everyone's saying, just go to hibernation for 4 years, 5 years, and develop one game at one time. And, everyone's basically complaining about the fact that they're rushing it and just pumping it as fast as they can.
Yeah.
But then for us, the community we're dealing with wants us to hurry up and pump it out. But then they want to complain that the product is, hastily slapped together. When all the ones that told us, to hurry up, it's been 7 years.
Yeah.
So,
the thing with us is that we don't have a budget. Like if we had money, I could then hire people and pay them, and now we have expectations. But this is all being done for free out of just love for the project. So if somebody takes, like, look, I can model a character out in about a week, 2 max.
Yeah.
We've got artists that are taking a month, 2 months, 3 months. I can't pressure them. I can say, hey, okay, great, awesome. But it is what it is. Everybody's doing it voluntarily.
Everybody's on their own pace.
Yeah, and life happens. Look, my arm. I pulled my bicep last year, and I couldn't do anything for like a month. I had to get surgery. It happens. Life happens. So
yeah, and it's like, to put it in perspective for what I do, it's like having a giant wall-sized jigsaw puzzle. You have a bunch of pieces here, but you have no clue if these pieces are the pieces you need for that. So if you come across, you can't find the piece over here, you gotta go in your little cubby over here and find another box of jigsaw puzzle pieces that may or may not fit. And it takes a long time. You gotta go piece by piece by piece. There is no, I just watch the thing, I throw everything together in one big file and tack it out of there. I'm going literally frame by frame by frame to make sure each sound is synced up perfectly. Same thing with Ben. Everything I do, Ben takes and tries to realign the old footage and like readjust the animation to fit whatever timing I deem is more natural for the dialogue or the sound effects. He has to alter it around to make it fit. So that way it's all seamless. And it takes hours and hours and hours of time and effort to do that. This is not easy work.
Nope.
It's easy if I had 2 years to work on it, but I don't got 2 years to slowly and meticulously work on it scene by scene.
And it would be easier if I had
a lot of time and effort and a lot of stress.
And it would be easier if I had 100 or over 100 people work. we can pump this stuff out in 2 years.
Yes. It's just me right now. It's just little old me, little old subpar here.
Listen,
I'm the only one doing it.
Listen, it was just me animating everything because between Vicky and Neil, they did block animations for some of the scenes, and I think Neil did maybe 2 or 3, maybe Vicky did 5. The rest of it was all me. So Ben coming in now and smoothing everything out and fixing whatever, because again, you have to balance quality and time, and prior to Ben coming on, I didn't know how I was going to do all this by myself. There's no way I can make it look like perfect with the amount of time that we have. I would have needed another year. So Ben coming in and doing this stuff has been phenomenal. So yeah. So the good thing is though, Aidan, that we're building a library, we're building the building blocks, so when we get into the sequel, which we are already are, it should be a very, very smooth transition, and we should not have
Oh
the
yeah,
amount of years that we took to do Galvatron's Revenge.
yeah. No. But bear in mind for people who are hoping Dinobots Unleashed will release within like 1 year. That ain't
Yeah, no, it's
happening
not
either.
happening. That's not
Like,
happening. That's
that's
unrealistic.
not happening.
No.
Like my personal estimation is at the very least 3 years.
Yes, at the very
At the
least.
very least.
That's like a prayer, an answered prayer. 3 years, right? So
Yeah,
that would be
3
a
years.
best case
That's like
scenario.
that's like the typical for a Hollywood production. That's the typical production time for a movie is about 3 years at the
Yep.
most. 2 years if you have like the most like ridiculous amount of employees.
Yep.
But
Cool.
we don't got that. I mean, we got me, and then Carlos has Ben, and that's it. It's like a trinity here.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep.
There is no like team of 15 behind that closet door helping me out.
That's right.
It's just me doing the audio and them doing the animation.
That's right.
That's it.
Cool, man. Well, listen, man.
know.
I wanted to thank you for taking the time and talking to the audience. But before I let you go, is there anything else you would like to say to them?
Nothing else that I haven't said already, other than the fact that I hope when this comes out and you see the finished product that you're like, okay, I understand why it took so long. That you're accepting of the fact that it took, a ridiculous amount of time to make, and that it was worth the wait, and that you'll stick around for the next two, because I want to be so happy when it's just like a one scene trickle instead of here's 18, go. It'll be a nice, slow, like hamster's cage water drip of stuff for me to work on as I go
Yeah.
for like the next 3 or 4 years versus now I've got 2 months.
Cool. Well, yeah,
but-
we've got actually less than 2 months, because 2 months is when we go live with it. So we got less than 2 months, because we also got to give Mike time to put everything together and edit everything. So we definitely got to get our bearings done by way before the 24th of August or 25th of August. So, but I'm sure you're gonna crank it out. I know Ben's cranking it out, and hopefully, like you said, everybody will enjoy the final product, and that's the goal, right? Cool,
sir.
buddy. Thanks. Hey, thanks so much, man. Thanks for stopping by. Appreciate it, man. And
Yes, sir.
we'll look forward to the premiere date. We'll have some popcorn or something like that.
Yes, sir. Oh yeah.
All right, buddy.
Thanks for having me.
Take care, man. Have a good one. And till all are one.